Have you noticed how different each of the passages we've read has been? Not just in subject matter, but in the way the story's written, the point of view, the kinds of words used, the way sentences are structured, and in tone. These are some of the elements that make up the writer's style. Think of style as the personality of a piece. The style a writer chooses has a lot to do with the kind of story he or she is telling. Let's find out a little bit about classic writer Edgar Allan Poe's style.
We all like a good scare, a safe scare. That's why we go to see horror movies. That's why we read fiction, mysteries, supernatural. That's why we like roller coasters. We like a safe scare, and that's what Poe gives us in his stories. He is an author that covered many different genres of literature. He wrote short stories, of course, and he is remembered for his horror stories, but that's just a small fraction of the type of literature he wrote. When Poe wrote The Telltale Heart, he was showing us this dark side of human nature. In the story, the man, or the narrator in this case, becomes unbalanced because of the old man's eye. He develops what we call an irrational fear, a phobia of this man's eye, as if somehow the eye could hurt him, that he must destroy the man himself in order to get rid of the evil eye. And so for 7 nights prior to this particular night, the narrator has gone to the old man's room at midnight, very carefully opened the door, not made any sounds, and then using a lantern with just a little beam of light, shining the beam of light across the room so that it will fall perfectly on the old man's eye. For 7 nights, that eye has been closed. For 7 nights, the narrator has refrained from murder. It's the 8th night.
Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph to think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch with the thick darkness, for the shutters were close fastened through fear of robbers. And so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily, steadily. I had my head in and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in the bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour, I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime, I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed, listening, just as I have done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall.
In The Telltale Heart, Poe uses first-person point of view. That is probably the most powerful point of view because it's as if you are hearing a personal account, that someone has set you down and said, listen, I want to tell you my story. I want to tell you what happened to me. I want to tell you about this horrible deed, this horrible crime I committed. So right away, you have the reader's attention. It's not like third-person point of view when you have a bystander reporting. It's not like an omniscient, godlike point of view where you're looking down on all the characters, maybe in Once Upon a Time this happened. This is a point of view that is so powerful, it grabs you from the very first word, and that's what Poe is trying to do.